Okay guys, hello. So I needed to make another light for a new tent that I have. A smaller 5 bulb light that I could use these big 24-watt LED grow bulbs on. So came up with something like this. This is how I want to lay it out. So I used a 1x12, and I figured this would be wide enough. 1x12's true dimensions are 11.25 inches. So what I did was I just squared it. I made both sides 11.25 inches, just cut it off, made a perfect square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these. These are just cheap old light sockets that you can get on eBay or Amazon. I'll try to leave a link in the description for them. They're about $10 on Amazon for 10, and about $7 or $8 for 10 of them on eBay. United States shipping, so it's not from overseas. You can get them cheaper if you wait a few weeks to get them from overseas. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out like this, and I'll show you how to get started in daisy chaining these. The first thing you want to do is on the underside of these, you see there's those 2 little holes. Those are your mounting holes, and they're not marked, but the hot side always goes to the plunger in the center, and the other side is neutral that goes to the actual socket. So I've got a power cord already cut, and you just strip the ends off with your wire strippers. Give yourself about a ½ inch or so, and I'm going to go ahead and use some 18 gauge wire to run the daisy chains with, because the little bit thinner wire helps in these little light sockets, because the holes are so tiny. So what you do, and ideally you would use 2 different colors wire just to help keep your head straight, but you don't really need to. I mean, it would make it easier to identify, but as long as you pay attention where you're running your wire to, you'll be okay. So these are twisted together, and to get started, your hot side on your plug, you see here, there's a wide side and a narrow side, and the narrow side always is your hot side. In most cases, the hot side will have some kind of writing on the housing of the wire, and that's usually a good way to follow it back towards the end and see which side's your hot side. So this side right here is the hot side. It's got the writing on it. And now all you do to get started is find your hot side here, and then just insert your wires. So there, your wires are inserted in there. Just tighten them down. And the same for the other side, your neutral side. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run 2 cords from every one until we get to the end. So let's get these twisted up here. And we'll run these through. Sometimes this can be a pain because these holes on these things are really little. So sometimes you got to get it in there just right. But once you do and they're good, then you just set them in. So tighten them down. Okay. Now from here, you want to make sure you give yourself enough cord to go around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the end here, and I need to go all the way to here. So that should be enough length. And I think what I'm going to do is, as I go, I'm going to just screw them down just to make it a little easier to identify how much length I need. So yeah, this is all you're going to do. Let me anchor this one down, and we'll pick up at the next one. Okay, so I got it mounted. And once you mount it down, you're not going to be able to see where your cord is. And since these cables aren't different colors, what I did was I put a bend, an obvious bend, in the one that is the hot side, so I can keep track. And what we'll do from there, we're just going to bind two together, and we're going to start the daisy chain here. So this one is your hot, and this will be the neutral. And now what you do, since this is the hot side, and we'll go ahead and put another bend down here, just to make it where we can keep track of that. Just go to your underside, find your hot, and as you can see how I put another cable here, and that's all you got to do to daisy chain these. So find your hot side, go in, okay, there we go. Got it inserted there. Tighten it down. And this is your neutral here. We'll go in from here. Put it in there. Okay, now what I did when I cut these, what I did was I laid it out from here to here, and my next one is going to be here. So I made sure I had plenty of length to get to the inside of that. And now what I'm going to do, that you've seen how I daisy chained, is I'm going to go ahead and daisy chain the rest of these, and as far as the light sockets, they'll all be mounted, and then all we got to do is figure out how we're going to hang it. So I'm going to do all this, and I will return. Okay, so there's it all mounted up. I went ahead and put some light bulbs in it. And this is how it's going to be finished. So there's the panel. And each of these bulbs are 24 watts apiece. So that'll be good for the little 24-inch tent. So now what we can do is figure out how we're going to mount this. And what I think I'm going to do is just put some eye hooks in it, or eye screws, and then hang it with my light hangers, my adjustable light hangers. And I think that will work pretty good. So what we're going to do to mount the screws is, let me find my, it's down here. And this is a perfectly square board, so all I'm going to do, now I need my pen. Where's my pen? There's my pen. Okay. So I'm just going to come in, and this ruler is 1 inch wide. So all I'm going to do is come in 1 inch on each side here, and put a little mark. So see the mark here? It's 1 inch over and 1 inch up. So basically inset by 1 inch on each side. I'm going to do that for both of them. So go ahead and mark 1 inch here. And this is going to be where I mount my screw eyes. I don't, you don't want them exactly on as close to the edge, and you want them to all be equal so it hangs straight. So that's how we're going to do that. Now, I don't think I need to explain, but I'm going to go ahead and mount the eye hooks. Alright, so I got the eye screws mounted. You can see there. And this pine board is really easy to get them going into, but once you crank them down, they're in there really, really solid. So no worries about it falling out, at least not in my case. I'm not worried about it. So now I'm going to go ahead and set this up. I'm going to get it hung up in my grow tent, and I'll show you guys how it turns out. Alright guys, so here's the light all finished. Everything's mounted. I got it hung in the grow tent, and again, this is a 24 by 24 by 48 inches tall grow tent. The 5 bulb fixture, these are each 24 watt bulbs, so in theory there's about 150 watts here, a little shy. So and I would say honestly, these bulbs, for being about $8 for 2 of them, I would say they're really good because they're very bright. I would say they are probably running at almost, if not their true wattage. So these are definitely a good buy, I think, you know, for as cheap as they are. And I think they're going to work well. I'll leave a description or a link in the description to where I got these lights from the seller on eBay. And if they're still available, you know, they may and they may not be. But yeah, so about $25 altogether for this light, including the sockets and the bulbs. And you know, the board, this is just like I said before, it's a 1x12, and I squared it off. I basically just took the width of it, which is 11 1/4 true width, and I squared it so it's just perfectly 11 1/4 on all sides. And that's it. That's all there is. Really simple light to make. And I think it's going to be really good in here. The temperature is fine. You know, there's a lot of space around the light, but I've got really good even coverage too. But there's no heat issues really. All I'm using for exhaust is just this cheap little 4-inch like desk fan. All it is, I took the base of it off and I cinched it up into the exhaust port, so it's really sturdy. It's just hanging in there, and it seems to move enough air out of the tent that it doesn't get any hotter than maybe 3 or 4 degrees above ambient. So it works well, and I think almost 150 watts of the multi-spectrum light here is gonna work real well when I decide to use this tent. So I mean, that's it. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions or want to leave a comment, go ahead and do that, or you can message me, whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's it, guys. Peace.
Imagina